Okay, we are in Shoftim, Judges, chapter 6, verse 27. So it says, Vayikach Gideon asara anashim me'avadav. So what happened was, right? You said 27? Excuse me. Okay, so Gideon took 10 men with him from his servants. And he did like that which Hashem commanded him. And it was Beit Aviv, when he was when it says because here, look, that's interesting. It's when he was afraid of the house of his father's household. And the people of the city Me'asot Yomam from doing it during the day, Vayas Laila, and he did it at night. Remember, he's building the Mizbeach, and he's going to offer the cow and the fatted cow that was for 10 years on the altar. So that's what he's doing. He doesn't want to do it during the day, it says. So he does it at night. Yeah.
Why would he be afraid? Why, with Hashem telling him to do it and telling him not to be afraid?
Oh, you answer that question. I'll let you answer that question. And the Gemara says he asked the question and he answered the question. If Hashem tells you to do something, and you do, and he tells you don't be, and you say you express, hey, I'm a little afraid. Hashem says don't be afraid. So, really? What do you mean don't be afraid? It's like don't be afraid of the raccoon. It's of course I'm going to be afraid, and I'm going to try to do it quietly until everything is proven that is really coming from you, and I'm really going to be saved, and I'm not just a pawn in the show. You really don't know what's going on. You can't get nobody. God has not been speaking to the Jewish people for a long time, and suddenly Gideon, who is involved in Avodah Zarah, immersed in all these people who are dealing with idolatry, is being spoken to because of how much of a tzaddik he may be. Yes or no for that, but he's still afraid. Just like Shmuel was afraid to go to anoint David to anoint a new king. Excuse me. He said to Hashem, if I leave Shaul, he's going to kill me. And Hashem says, so I'll give some subterfuge. So the same thing here. It's not strange that people would be afraid, even if Hashem tells them not to be afraid. And
10 people like a minion?
It could be. I'm not sure if it's a minion per se you've taken him, but I'm not sure I forget if the Malbim speaks about the 10. Let me just see. Where is it? Ron 27. Oh, so Malbim says, what's going on here? Okay, why did he take 10? He says, he needed to offer one ox, and then he had to build an altar on where it was set up, and if he would have done it himself, so it would have taken him a long time. He would have stretched it out the whole night. So rather, lakach anashim la'azro. So that's why he takes some men. Doesn't say why he took 10 men. I guess he knew he needed a crew. You need a crew, so you have 10. You have your whole crew. And the Torah and the Tanakh is just telling him he had 10. And then it says, and the reason he did this was because he was afraid to do it. Like I said, you have to put yourself in his shoes, though. Even if Hashem's telling you, you can't rely upon miracles. And just to assume that nobody's going to do anything to you, especially if you were doing it during the day, you may run into problems. Even, I'll give you another example. Avraham was told, circumcise your child. Okay, fine. So now he has a question. Should I circumcise him during the day or should I circumcise him during the night? If what was his concern? If I circumcise him during the day, then people, for one, may be disgusted, and I lose my power as the one who's convincing you to become a believer in monotheism. So that could work against him. Number two, people will try to stop him because they're saying, "What are you doing to your son? This is genital mutilation, which is unacceptable." Fine. And that's when you have all these people. He has Aner, Eshkol, and Mamre, who are his friends. He has an alliance with them. So Aner and Eshkol, according to one opinion, say, don't do it at night, or don't do it at all. And only Mamre says, no, do it during the day. Hashem told you to do it, you have to do it. And that's why it says in Parsha Vayera that God appeared to him in the plains of Mamre. We already know he was in Mamre. Why does it have to say it? That's the reason, to tell us that Mamre gets credit for telling him to do it during the day. But we see again that the point of that midrash is, we see once again that people are not so quick to do everything in front of everybody, because you don't know what's going to happen. Again, once it's done, it's done. I mean, that's another thing. If you want to make a coup, you do it quietly. How do you pass most things in Congress? At night. Oh. Most things are passed at night when everybody's asleep. So think about that. If you want to pass in Sharon, I remember Sharon, they passed a seatbelt rule. This was going way back, but they passed. You have to wear a seatbelt. I think at 3 a.m. Nobody's here to argue. So you do it at night. People, and then once it's done, it's done. You understand? So that could be. So he was afraid. So he figures
something that's controversial. They'll stay all night. Yeah, it was routine. It seemed like it was,
Right, but even if it's controversial, you don't think it's going to.
Congress. I mean, yeah, they'll keep them there for overnight session. We'll let them go on break
Right. But that's when they get it done, at night, when everybody's asleep.
Do it on a Friday night, so they miss the news cycle for 2 days.
There you go, even that, right?
Yeah.
Even that, like I said,
all the nasty
That's what the White House does, yeah.
all right, that's what everybody. But that's how you do it. You do it in the dark of the quote-unquote, the dark of the night, and it's done. Once it's done, it's done. I mean, how can you undo it now? Yeah, so it's good.
I'm wrestling with that compared to verse 12, where Hashem calls to him and says, Hashem is with you, O mighty hero.
Right. That was a Malach Hashem, first of all. That was a Malach, not Hashem, but it was a Malach Hashem.
Okay.
So an angel is telling him that, and again, who's the angel? He thinks the angel is a human. He thinks the angel is a human. Let's not ever forget what we're dealing with. He doesn't. Remember, we the readers know everything. We are at an advantage. We are more of an advantage because we know how it's going to end up. Mm-hmm. If you ever watch a TV show like The Flash, okay, in one episode The Flash dies, guess what? We know that can't be. You know why? Because the show is called The Flash. We know he has to come back, so we know something happened. He'll be back, yeah. But when another character, a minor character does that, we don't know. We don't know if they're going to come back. Here, this guy is saying, a Malach Hashem. Somebody, it could be, you're talking to your friend, or actually, you don't even know the guy. The guy comes to you and says, what does he call him? Almighty man of valor. It talks to you, Almighty man of valor. Don't be afraid, Hashem is with you. And what do you think? Right. Okay. Leave me alone. I'm not interested. So again, God's not speaking to him. God's not speaking to him like God spoke to Moses.
No.
Okay.
But the Malach represents Hashem.
Again, you know it and I know it, that he's a malach. He thinks he's a human. We can't, you have to put yourself in his place. He's a human. He's a Navi. He's a prophet. Prophets don't always get it right. They may if you watch the class on Derech Hashem. So Bill was here for that. So it says that sometimes a prophet, if he is untrained, he can get the message wrong. So how do I know this guy is trained? I don't know what he is. He tells me, you're a man of valor, blah blah blah. Great, I'm glad you're speaking to me. But he even gives him tests, and trying to figure out what's going on. And so with all that, even though the tests were passed, or that it was done what he wanted, it still doesn't mean that he's not going to be careful. Again, you have to put yourself into their shoes. There's one man against the world.
Okay.
Literally. And so that's why he was doing it at night. So what happens? So the men of the city woke up early in the morning. And behold, the altar of Baal was uprooted, broken down. The Asherah and the Asherah tree that was next to it was cut down. And the second cow, the one they had, the nice fatted cow, ha'ola al mizbeach ha'benoi, was offered upon the altar that was built. So they're not exactly overjoyed by this. So what happens? Vayomru ish el reho. So a man, in other words, a person said to his friend, Miyasa hadavar zeh, who did this thing? V'yidrushu v'yivakshu. So they made a full-length investigation, and they searched Vayomru, and they said, Gideon ben Yoash asa hadavar zeh. So Gideon's uncovered after a lengthy investigation, and Gideon is the one who did this thing. Again, mind you, he didn't voluntarily say, I did it. Okay, that's also something. Here you would think that the guy would say, hello, I didn't, and because God told me to. No, he's right there, and they are saying, who did this? Now I want you to think about this again. Put yourself into their place. You have your your house of prayer, okay, and all the accoutrements go with it. And suddenly, and you went to bed, and everything was good. It was nicely built. Next day comes, you wake up early in the morning because you want to get to the early minyan. You want to get to the early services. You have to go to work that day, whatever the case is going to be. You're one of these. Actually, I shouldn't. Maybe they do. I don't know if they go to work or not, but they come, and lo and behold, the place is destroyed.
Wow.
It's vandalized. Think about how you would feel. Think about that. You have to get into their mind for a second. You're not going to be a happy camper. My place has been destroyed. You don't agree with my religion, that's not my fault. That's not my problem. Don't come to my place of worship. You go to your place, build your own little synagogue, build what you want, and leave me alone. But don't destroy my place. Right? That would make sense. That's why everybody gets excited. Don't destroy my place. Go your own place. And so what happens is they find it destroyed. Not only that, but even the outside, what do you call it? Yeah, but what do you call what we have outside?
Oh, the landscaping.
The landscape. Even you kill my landscaping.
Yeah.
You kill my landscaping. Okay, it was just like you said about the raccoons. They just damage to damage. What are you doing? Okay, so I prayed to the Asherah tree, but it still was a nice thing. It hurt you. Okay. Then they find out it was Gideon. Okay, and again, say Gideon didn't raise him. Said I did it in the sake of God. So what happens? Vayomer Anshe Ir al Yoash. So the men of the city said to Yoash, Hotzei et bincha v'yamot. Bring out your son, so he may die. Why? Ki natatz mizbach abal. They give him a reason because he uprooted or broke, whatever they said, broke down the altar of Baal. And he cut down the Asherah tree that was next to it. Like I said, let's kill it. He's going to die now. That's it. Have a good day. So, what happens? We'll just go through the story for a second. It says, Vayomer Yoash l'chol Hashem du alav. So Yoash said to all that stood next to him or near him, Ha'atem terivim leBaal. Are you the ones that are going to fight for Baal? Imatem toshiunoto. Will you he says avenge him. Okay. I don't like avenge because Toshiun is, will you be his savior? I guess that's avenge. but will you be a savior for him? Rivlo, that you will argue for him. Yumad al Aboker shall be put to death, for that he that will contend him shall be put to death until the morning. Im Elohim, if he is a god, Yarevlo, let him fight for himself. Kinatat says Mizbecho, because his altar was uprooted. It's an interesting argument just throwing out to them. He realizes his son's on the chopping block, and he says, "Okay, look, why do you have to avenge the destruction of your God's temple? Let your God avenge himself. Leave me alone."
That's like the Medrash with Abraham where he destroyed all the idols in his father's shop, and he puts the big club in
the big one's hand.
Yeah,
but. Terach doesn't.
Let him do it.
Right. Terach doesn't say. Terach knows that he just made these idols. But what he's arguing is, why are you going to avenge your God? And mind you, that I'm not sure Yoash was any better than them when it comes to idolatry. I think he was also an idolater. But he realizes his son is going to be killed, so that's when he becomes a Baal Tshuva. He says, "No, not interested." And so now let's see what happens here. So the Malbim says on this whole thing, "V'nei nitatz, and behold, there was uprooted yesh hevdel ben harisa and titza." So the Malbim tells us that there is a difference between the Hebrew words of harisa and netitza, both meaning in English break down. So he says, "Ahores yifarek binyan," the one who is. When you see the Hebrew word hores, it means you're taking apart the building. Ve'anotates means shover o kol even l'shvarim, that I break every stone into pieces. So one thing I'm breaking down an altar, I just take it apart. Okay, and that's simple. That you could put it back together again. The other one is when I really destroy it. And ve'emet lo nitats rak haras. And in reality, he didn't really break it down and smash it, but rather he just broke it down into pieces. Like it says, that he broke down he took apart the Mizbech of Baal. Why did he do that? Because he would take the stones that were complete, and then he would rebuild it using those same stones for Hashem. But the people seeing it did not know that this mizbeach, that this altar was built from the stones that they had for their altar, and they thought that he smashed it. Okay, so that's interesting. He took away, which is it's also fascinating. If I would take down an altar from an idol worshiper, I would take it apart and then I put it back together for the Shem Hashem. I'm not so sure that really gets it out of the I'm trying to think of the English word for that, the parameter of idolatry, because the only way for it to come out of the parameter of idolatry is for the guy who is the Avodah Zarah, Nick. You got that? Yeah. Okay. The one who is involved in the Avodah Zarah, when he says that it's no longer Avodah Zarah, that's when I can use it. No. But if I take it apart and he never made it not holy. How do you say unsanctified it? Desecrated. If he never desecrated it, so then it's not desecrated. So it's interesting that he got away with this. Okay, and it's a big problem, by the way, when you would, let's say it says you can't make Havdalah on a candle from idolatry, right? You can't light it from there. But why? Because they lit it for idolatry. So unless they snuff it out and then we relight it to something else. But if they snuff it out, or they say this idolatry is foolish, whatever they're going to do, and they nullify it, then we can use anything. And even then we don't like to use it, but still we could. But it's here, like I said, it doesn't seem. But it doesn't seem he did that. But they assumed he did. Then they saw if he had a power ho'ila milad im kamo im ratza lama shera im power. Okay, fine. Ho'ila al mizbeach habenoi v'li safek harsu, without doubt harsu anshe ha'ir em mizbach ha'olah. Without doubt, the men of the city took apart the mizbeach that was built, the raksha mizbeach hatachton lo yuchlu harso. But it was only the bottom one that they could not take apart. The chen karu ma'os. That's what they called the ma'os. I didn't get that far, right? Why don't I see that? Okay, let me just finish that. So that's why they call them ma'os. And that was via the supervision of Hashem. Shekar lo shalom. That was called shalom. So then what happens? Vayoma Yoash. So the people, Yoash says to the people, Amar lehem b'manashach. He says, however you want to view this. If you would consider that it's in the power of Baal to avenge himself for his honor, but he just doesn't want to make the fight. Im Cain, if that's the case, so I attempt to even Baal. Why you want to make the fight for him? Since he doesn't want to fight for himself, that's one thing. Or maybe you think he wants to fight, but he doesn't have the power to fight. So do you consider yourself his saviors? Since he can't save himself? If that's the case, surely the man who fights for him will be dead next day. Why do you wait the whole night? And he was silent. If he was able to do something, he should have killed Gideon before the morning. And behold, guess what? Gideon's still alive. So therefore he doesn't have any power. And if you're going to say that he doesn't want to kill, this is also a lie. Because a king, a god, will want to fight the person who uprooted who smashed his altar. Certainly he would fight with him. They wouldn't be quiet. So therefore he's not a god. He has no power. It's nothing. It's a great argument. It's the best argument in the world. If you want to kill my son, what do you want to kill my son for? This God that you're praying to, you consider him powerful. So either, if he is powerful, he should have taken the guy down. Yeah. Should have killed my son. My son shouldn't have made the night. Forget it. And now you want to fight for him. So if you fight for him means that he didn't want to fight. So if he doesn't want to fight, what are you fighting for? Leave me alone. He has a very strong argument here. Okay.
That's the same argument Abraham made in his father's idol shop when the idols were broken.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say before.
Again, but Terach, like I said before,
yeah.
Terach wasn't...
He was just a salesman.
He was a salesman. He wasn't arguing that... He knew they weren't really gods.
But he got mad. He got mad.
You were too...
You busted my idols.
You were too of... I mean, he destroyed his stock.
Yeah.
It's his product line. But this is not a product line. This is your God. This is your representation of God. If I want to be, politically correct.
Abraham was pointing out, why Terach already knew if this idol's so strong, you don't believe it. Oh, you don't believe. But in this case, the guy really believed it. If you really believe it, then let him do his own business. Right,
that's what I'm saying. As I said, we have to get back into their minds. They thought that these idols, if not gods, were representation of the God. Now, and I think I'm being too politically correct to say representation of God, personally. I think they actually believe these things were gods. And I think that some people believe, even to this very day, that some of the things that they do via, what do you call it, iconology? Icons? Iconography. I think that some people really believe that those icons have power. I really believe some people do. I'm not saying everybody. I'm not going to put everybody throw everybody into the bus, but I think some people do. And so now imagine those people coming in and seeing their stuff smashed. You smashed my God. You killed. It's as crazy as you killed my God. It's as crazy as that. And I'm sorry to use the language, but it's as crazy as Christians tell me, you killed my God. Do you hear yourself? How can I kill God? It's an impossibility. Okay, so nonetheless, that's what comes across. And so here, they're saying the same. He's using that logic on them. Now, everybody, the people in town that he's talking to probably are Jewish, who have gone over to Baal. Why would they go to Baal, by the way? Let's understand why Jews were running to Baal. Because it was an easy life. You got your orgies, you got this, you got that. It was a wonderful life. Idolatry is... Right, that's all. Have a good time. There's no rules. And he's going to answer me, and it's natural. It's a religion. It gets me. It's laid back, and I get what I want. So why wouldn't I want that? And I recognize God, but God's very distant from me. God's watching all this, and He's allowing it to happen. It must be just all right. Here I am honoring one of His things. I'm sorry.
It reminds you of the world we live in.
It does actually, because the way people live today, they have this. People, I'm talking even Jews, I'm talking even Orthodox Jews. When I say that, have a real hard time believing that God's right here, as it were, okay, right next to me, walking with me, taking me, the whole thing, and caring about what I do. They would think God cares generally, a general thing. It's not looking specifically what I do. He's looking at the general thing, and that's not a Jewish belief in reality. That really, God does care about what I do, and God wants me to do the best, and God wants me to grow, and therefore every mitzvah, which is an attachment, a connection to Hashem wants. That's why He gave it to us, so that we could fulfill them and get closer and closer and closer. And there's never a time that I can say, done. There's never a time. And people have a hard time with that. Now, some people only see the mitzvah as I have to do my job. So I do my job, but they don't see the connection part of that. If they don't see the connection part of that, they're missing that's a disconnect. That's a major disconnect. And that's something that, I don't know whose fault that would be. I guess they're not watching my videos enough, but it's, I really don't know where that disconnect came. But that's a real disconnect that people have. I have to follow the mitzvah. It's like here, I have to follow the law. I go 30 miles an hour in the 30 mile an hour zone because it's the law. But there's a disconnect as to why I have to follow that law. Except I don't want a ticket. That's the only connection. You were going to say?
I was just going to say, like we hear so much with global warming and a lot of that this is consensus. At the time, consensus would have been that pagan and idols
Right.
were real.
Correct.
This is just one person standing up against this. So, when you get into that kind of argument, you can't argue it on their level. You have to use diversion and restate it and turn it on them.
Correct.
And that's what
he's doing. He's right.
It's very clever because you're posing a predicament.
Mm-hmm.
That if you believe this, then this should be the consequence.
Correct. And that's what he does. And that's, like I said, what we always have to do throughout all of Tanakh and throughout Torah is put ourselves in their place. And then all our questions fall away, really, because most of their reactions are our reactions.
But
we would act the same way.
Through the centuries, because many people are exactly this situation.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
Life is good. Why would I do this? Why
Right.
would I take this step?
And why? And but the other thing is, even if I don't go to the house of worship, why'd you destroy it? Why'd you touch my house of worship? Again, leave me alone. You build your own, do what you want, start your own religion. If it catches on, blah blah. I remember I was in one of my jobs. I wrote a curriculum for a Hebrew school. It was my first position, and I wrote a nice curriculum. And I wrote it for myself more than anybody else because I was the principal teacher and everything. So I wrote it for myself, and I showed some board members whose kids were at the school and so on and so forth. I said, this is what I want to accomplish. One of the board members who no longer had children in the school said, we have to pass this by the board. I said, why? He said, because he wants to become a standard.
Oh.
He wants to become a standard. So he said, we have to get this to the board to approve. So what happened? I brought it to the board, and they're looking at it, and one guy said, no, we can't pass it. So I was curious. I said, why? He said, because we have a person who's teaching the bar mitzvah boys, and he's not going to follow your curriculum. And so if we make it that you have to go through your curriculum in order to have a bar mitzvah, some people won't be able to do it, so no. So the other board, and I was fine with that. I said, I'm not here to make fights. I did it for myself. I was very honest. I did it for myself. So one of the board, so the other guy is yelling, no, we have to do it. It's all right. So the old president, he was not so old, but he was a young guy, but the former president, he said a very smart thing. He said to the board member, and he's addressing me, he said, Rabbi, if your curriculum is really that good, then people are going to want to come to your class, and they're going to want to learn with you. So really, just go on his own merits. You don't need to pass it by the board. And I said, I'm fine with that. I said, I didn't care about it at all. But they want to make a fight of it. And that's what you run into here many times.
Do they want to prevent you from...
No, they wanted... There was no preventing because I was the only teacher. They wanted the bar mitzvah teacher who was not connected with the shul. Well, I guess he was a member, but he wasn't part of the inside. I had no control over him, but they wanted the other side of that. Wanted all the kids to be educated. And this guy wasn't doing that sort of a job. Like a bar mitzvah teacher teaches you how to do the bar mitzvah. Leave you alone. It's a very quick sort of thing. And so he wasn't giving that over. And here I was presenting, I can teach from Rashi. I had a whole thing. It was a very nice curriculum. It was it was the first one I actually wrote. And I was very proud of it. But it was well laid out. And on top of that, I was doing it. So it was a work in progress, but it was something that was being done, and everybody who had kids in the school were very happy with it. But again, you have people who weren't in the school, and they weren't interested. They for whatever reasons. So some of the people on the board wanted. But that's my point. You have these idolaters, if you will, that I have my way, you have your way. If you like my way, you'll come over to me. If you don't, I'll stick where I am, and we'll have that division, and we'll all get along and live together in peace. Well, that's what they were advocating. We'll have to stop here, but that's what originally they were advocating, and then the father argues against it and says, "Hey, don't kill my son based upon that. If your God is so powerful, let him do it."
It's interesting you say that. That was your first position. When I first started teaching, you would think that a complaint would be like, you're incompetent.
Right.
You don't know what you're doing. You're not teaching anything. What are the complaints? You're doing too much.
Right.
But are the kids able to handle it? Yes, but you're doing too much.
All right. Well, they didn't say that to me. I'm just paraphrasing.
Right. That's kind of a prevailing attitude.
Right. But
you might be stressing them.
Right. Again, I have to, in defense of the president, what do you call the previous president? President Emeritus, I guess?
Past president.
Immediate past president. In deference to him, because I agree with what he said. If people see that you have a success, then they're going to want to go with you as compared to the other person. And the truth is, if I would have stuck around longer. I was only there 2.5 years before I decided it's time for me to get married. But it's and start a life. But if I would have stuck around a little more, it's very possible that people would have jumped onto my bandwagon and said, yes, that's what we want for our kids. Because one of the kids I actually taught bar mitzvah to, he was able to lead the services improperly, and not just say the first line, last lines, or just what the, what's said outside. He was actually reading words, and he was actually understanding what he was saying, and people were in love with that they saw that at least one kid got it, while the other kids didn't get anything except, again, how to parrot things back. So I think that people do see quality, but it takes a little while for that to happen. And it can't just happen in 2.5 years. And when I went there, I didn't think I would be there just 2.5 years either. I thought I could last it out. But when you're in the middle of nowhere with no wife, it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. I like the place though.
It's one of the most